I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. Whether you're watching us live on Facebook, I'm so much clearer now, Mo. Camera was a little foggy there.
You really look pretty fresh now.
That's crazy. Whether you're watching us live over on Facebook or YouTube, maybe you're on Roku TV now. Thank you to the amazing people over at Northeast Sports Productions. My name is Chris, and that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm a little excited, a little anxious. Obviously, the playoff/play-in start tonight in the NBA. But a bigger story, obviously, and you would know this much more than I would. You feel it more than I would. The sporting world lost one of those giants, one of those icons. When your name is up there with names like Johnny Most to Celtics fans, to Vince Scully with Dodgers fans, it's an epic loss when a voice like Sterling's is lost.
Yeah, I agree. For those of you who are not aware, tough day if you are a Yankee fan, specifically because the voice of the New York Yankees, John Sterling, he has been the voice of the Yankees since 1989. Basically, the entire time that I have been an active Yankee fan, he has been the voice of the New York Yankees. He called every single at-bat of Derek Jeter's career. He called every single pitch of Mariano Rivera's Hall of Fame career. I believe I don't think he missed a Yankee game from 1989 to 2019. Obviously, the last handful of years, COVID has some stuff to do with that in there. And then his health the last couple of seasons, he's missed a couple. He hasn't even missed chunks of time. He has missed a couple of games here and there heading into this season. The last Yankee game that he called this season was in the first Blue Jays series. He said coming into the season, keep in mind, he's in his mid-80s. I know as Yankee fans and as sports fans, you don't see him a lot. You hear his voice. You don't realize he is in his mid-80s. He said coming into the season that his travel schedule was going to be greatly reduced. The wear and tear of the travel schedule was impacting his health. So he was going to do the home games, and then he was going to travel for, certain road series and certain road spots. And then ultimately he decided that now was the time. Susan Waldman, his longtime partner in crime, say what you will. I know some Yankee fans were not a fan, but I certainly was a fan of the duo. Susan talked about it yesterday. Very emotional, very choked up she was. But Mo, she pointed out that he is doing it on his own terms before he is being forced into a situation where he has to do it. And he even said yesterday, he's comfortable with it. He's happy with it. He's happy with where his health is. And he is just completely blessed that he had an opportunity to do this for as long as he did.
I love that he's doing it on his own terms. Chris, 5,060 consecutive games that man called.
Yeah.
consecutive games. I want to put that out there. He is an icon. Like I
Yep.
said, right up there with Scully and most, and it is like it's going to be such a huge shift for Yankee fans, like you said, for your entire time adult as being a Yankee fan. There's people who go back, literally grew up with this man's voice. They grew up with his voice, and he's been on the call of some of the biggest plays, the moments in Yankee history. Just I can't even fathom how do you replace somebody like that. So just a major shift for Yankee Nation.
Mo, there's plenty of times as a Yankee fan when the Yankees are on a national broadcast, and I'm not a fan of the people who are calling the game, and I just turn the radio broadcast on, and I would just listen to John and Susan. I would watch the game on TV, and I would just listen to John and Susan on the radio because I just wasn't a fan of the team that was broadcasting the national broadcast. And it's different now. It's weird. It's weird knowing that I don't just kind of have that built-in fallback option. Sports is weird because little things like this you don't think are a big deal, and then they happen, and you're like, dang, like that's crazy. Like all my life, John and Susan have been the voice of the New York Yankees for me. Like that's it. Like, and now it's not. So
it's like family.
It hits different because, like, big picture, like the actual grand scheme of the world, very minuscule. But as far as like comfort and routine goes as a sports fan, huge freaking deal. So yeah, it's weird. I'm happy that he is where he is. The Sterling shake, ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
I love that. The Yankees win. I love that.
And I know he had his critics out there. There were many a times where balls were caught on the track that he thought were going out. I get it. I understand it. But if you were a fan, you were a fan. And if you were a Yankee fan, he's been the guy for like you said, Mo, 5,000 plus games. That's not even counting the 200 plus playoff games that he called during that same stretch. So, yeah, crazy stuff happening in Yankee land. Obviously, we're going to adjust and we're going to move forward, but it's going to be weird this summer not having the voice of John Sterling driving the Yankee games. But Mo, let's pivot to this before we get JG on here. We talked about this last week, and we talked about the fact that when a legend retires and then there are rumors or there's potential interest in them coming out of retirement a year or two after they leave, usually it has nothing to do with the actual athlete himself. But we know that the GOAT is built different. And we know that if somebody's going to fuel a Tom Brady return, it's going to be Tom Brady himself. And Tom Brady did that last week. Tom Brady said that he is more than open to the possibility of taking over for a team mid-season if their quarterback happens to go down. Mid-season was the key. Obviously, Tom Brady's not going through training camp. We're past that if you're the GOAT. Obviously, Tom Brady isn't coming to a team that's 2-7 midway through when their quarterback goes down. There's a handful, Mo, and maybe it isn't even a handful. Maybe it's only 2 or 3. But there are a couple of situations out there. We're talking championship contenders. They lose their all-star quarterback, their Pro Bowl quarterback. That's where Tom Brady would make the consideration. And we talked about it last week, Mo. If he came into another team and he won another ring, Jesus, like what? How do you elevate a legend any higher? That's how you do it. Tom Brady takes 2 years off, comes off the couch, and just gets another Super Bowl ring because he still has some of the fire. That's how he would do it, Mo. But when he starts talking about this, there are going to be the detractors. Not everyone appreciates greatness like we do here on the morning show. And what that has resulted in is unnamed. Let's start there. Unnamed NFL scouts have come out of the woodwork. And Mo, they said Tom Brady's cooked. They watched Tom Brady 2 years ago in Tampa Bay. He was cooked. He looked unmotivated. He didn't want to get hit in the pocket. They are giving zero credit and credence to this possibility of Tom Brady ever suiting it up again because of what they saw 2 years ago. Mo, to that, I have two things to say. One, if you look at the talent on that Tampa Bay team year 3, it was not the same level of talent on that Tampa Bay team year 1. Oh, by the way, they still won the division. Oh, by the way, he still went to the playoffs. Also, what 45-year-old quarterback doesn't look like he's taking a step back? Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have 8 other guys to compare him to. He's the only one who's done that. Okay, got it. And third thing, Mo, if he comes back, he's coming to a team like Kansas City, or he's
Correct.
to a team like Philadelphia. He's coming to a team that is ready to win a Super Bowl. He isn't coming to a team that is the caliber of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that he left 2 seasons ago. That was, sure, a playoff caliber team in a weak division. No, he's coming into a team that is primed to win a championship, and he would just have to guide the ship to get there. It's very much Peyton Manning his last year in Denver. They didn't
Correct.
win it because of Peyton Manning. Peyton was there to guide the ship and do what he needed to do, and he did just that. Mo, I think and I think Brady is in a better spot right now, most likely, than Manning was in the Super Bowl that season. So, listen, you're on name for a reason because you're not going to sign off publicly on talking that slander against the GOAT. So if you want to come out here and say things like Tom Brady is cooked and Tom Brady looked unmotivated 2 seasons ago, put your name on it. Put your name on it
Yeah.
because we're not going unnamed sources calling Tom Brady cooked 2 years after he walks out. Knock it off.
I'm wondering if those unnamed sources rhyme with Belichick. I'm just curious.
Bill's out there like he can't do it no more.
Right, right. Just putting it out there. What I would say is, like you said, look at what Peyton Manning was. That last Super Bowl run with the Broncos, he had a spaghetti arm. I mean, he was throwing like 10 and 15-yard outs, and I mean, he was dumping the ball down. He couldn't throw the ball down the field anymore. Tom Brady still has arm strength. That's what's crazy. He still can throw the ball down the field. He can still attack you vertically. Plus, if you play too high, he will dink you and dunk you to death. He will. He'll take whatever you give him. I would argue, because he's unique, because he is the GOAT, that he absolutely could come in mid-season. And like you said, he's not going to play for Carolina. He's going to go play for the Cowboys if something happens, the Niners if something happens, the Lions if something happens, the Chiefs. How about the Ravens? They'd be like, oh, he can't move like Lamar. No, but he can manipulate the pocket and throw the football in a way that Lamar never will be able to do. And it's nothing against Lamar. We're talking about Tom Brady. So yes, he's going to a ready-made team. And we're not in no way advocating for anyone to be injured. We're saying if it were to happen. Hell, I could see him going to your Dolphins if Tua suffered an injury where they said, well, he's going to miss the rest of the season. Tom looks at that offense and go, I could do a lot of things with Tyreek Hill and company. Trust me. So I think you're right. He's walking into a situation. He's playing for contenders, not teams that are rebuilding or middle of the pack. If Aaron Rodgers goes down again, why wouldn't the Jets call that guy?
Exactly. So listen, if you're thinking you're going to see, first of all, if it's a huge if, I would err on the side of it's not going to happen, just because of the circumstances that would have to align for it to happen. It's a lot. But if it were to happen, it's going to be a situation where he's going to be successful. That he's not going to come back and look bad. Like, do you know who he is? The last thing he is going to do is roll back in here to lose football games and make people be like, man, what happened to Tommy? He fell off that same cliff that Peyton fell off of. Tom's not doing that. If he does it, if he were to ever entertain a comeback, It's because he knows he still has the juice. He's not coming back just because he wants one more moment in the sun, Mo. He's coming back because he honestly believes he can win. And Tom Brady doesn't strike me as that athlete who thinks they can do it, but they really can't. Now, there might be some things he can't do at his age currently that he might still think he can do, but he isn't going to be that athlete that's a shell of his former self out there, but he still thinks he's the guy. Brady is smarter than that.
He is. And I think that Tom Brady is the kind of guy to me that probably still can come back in today's football game on the right team and throw for 4,000 yards, right? But you're asking him to come in midway with the Super Bowl contender. Like I said, let's say the Eagles and what they have on the outside, not to mention what he's got behind him in Saquon Barkley. Tom Brady's coming back to a good situation. Like you said, if the stars aligned, a lot of things would have to go right. It would have to be those kind of situations. It is very possible. But assuming none of the contenders have any major injuries, especially at the quarterback position, and all that's left is like a lot of the bottom feeders, no, he's not going to come back. Like I said, he's not going to go, well, you know what? Bill's gone. I think I can do some things with the current version of the Patriots. Yeah, he's not doing that. He's not signing up for that beating. So Tom Brady, there's one reason why he's the GOAT. It's his talent on the field, but he's also a very smart guy, a very calculating person. He will set himself up for success no matter what he does. So yeah, I'm leaning towards it probably won't happen, but there's a part of me that would kind of like to see it happen.
It's because we respect greatness over here. Another man who respects greatness is JG. It's time to bring JG, and we got some Major League Baseball things to get to. JG, how are you this morning, sir?
Good morning, guys. Doing good. How are y'all?
Hey, how's it going, JG?
JG, let's jump right into it. We're going to open up with a little buy or sell. I'm going to throw a bunch of things at you. I'm going to press the MLB knowledge that JG brings to the table this morning. We're going to start in Oakland. No one starts in Oakland, but we're going some places today. We're going to start with Oakland, and we're going to start with Mason Miller. Mason Miller was a starter. Mason Miller got hurt. Mason Miller is now in the bullpen. JG, Mason Miller is now throwing 103 miles per hour. This guy's elbow might just fall off on the field. Last time out, he hit 103 miles per hour twice. The four seam is averaging 100.5 miles per hour. He's only been doing this for a week, but he is throwing gas and he is looking like a piece out of the bullpen. JG, you look at Oakland, they don't have much going on. They're not going to have much going on. They appear for at least a week to potentially have a bullpen weapon at their disposal. Are you buying or selling Oakland, keeping him in the bullpen moving forward?
I think the better question is do we see Oakland keeping him
on the roster?
I mean, this is a team that, again, I know I'm a little bit off topic on. This is a team that sent down Yustiri Ruiz, who was batting 400, and he's tearing it up in AAA as if he doesn't belong there, and they sent him down anyway. So it's impressive what he has done so far once he got to the bullpen. He's 2.25 ERA and 3 saves, 6 games. So, half the games he's pitched in, he's got a save in, 8 innings. 6 hits, 3 walks, 15 strikeouts. So the numbers, the walk to strikeout ratio is absolutely excellent. 1.13 WHIP. He's a bullpen arm at this point, because I think at the same time you're going to have to really work and develop the mental side for somebody like this kid to be a starting pitcher. And there's sometimes that you just look at it and say, hey, you're more comfortable in the bullpen, and that's okay. That's okay being that. If that's what your best role is, that's what keeps you in the big leagues. Because if you move into the rotation and he struggles out the gate again, guess what? They're going to send him down. But I know he's quality in the bullpen. Keep him in the bullpen and keeps him in the big leagues for a while. So again, the question is do Oakland look at him and say, okay, great, we have something here. This kid is really good. Let's trade him. I mean, that's kind of where it is right now. But I think, buying that he is a solid bullpen arm, and he is, doing really well in there, and like I said, getting even closing action, which when you throw 103, you can, we've seen that with Aroldis Chapman. He made a great career out of throwing 103, 104 miles an hour and hitting and throwing pitches that people can't hit. So then that's what Mason Miller has done so far early on in 2024. I say bye, keep him in the bullpen, and keep him as a closer.
JG, you know the start of every Major League Baseball season, one of the talking points early on is individual performances. People get off to hot starts, people get off to cold starts, and then it's the narrative of, can they keep up the hot start? Are they going to bounce back from the cold start? Usually everything is a wash and it falls in between somewhere. But it seems like with pitchers, we get a little more concerned when the starts get a little bit colder. We got a couple of those that we're going to talk about this morning. We're going to start with the Miami Marlins. Everything is cold on that team right now. I believe they're 3-14. Their manager was tossed out last night. By the way, dude is jacked. I did not realize how jacked their manager is. He came out the other night against the Giants upset about a late pitching change, and I was concerned for the umpire. Like, most Major League Baseball managers, you're like, if they swing, nothing's happening. This guy, if he were to swing, I would be concerned. But in Miami, you have Jesus Luzardo. He was all the trade talk rumor coming into the season as a huge trade asset for the Miami Marlins, along with their second baseman, Luis Arias, I believe is his name. All he does is hit 300 for his career seemingly every season. But if you're looking at Jesus, I believe he has 3 or 4 starts this season, JG. I know you're going to give us the numbers, but they're not quality starts. He is not pitching well. I get it. When you play for the Miami Marlins, who are 3-14, and your offense isn't doing much, it's hard to get wins, but quality starts and wins are different stories. What are you seeing out of Jesus the first handful of starts into the season? Because not only was he supposed to be one of their better pitchers, he was also supposed to be a potential trade piece to get them some pieces on offense as well.
Yeah, you have to take into account for someone like Luzardo that you know what he's done through his career, and he's put up pretty good numbers throughout his career. I'm looking at it, 23 and 30. Again, he's pitched with the A's and he's pitched with the Marlins, 2 franchises that you're not going to sit there and go, man, he's going to be pitching on a great team. 4.33 ERA. A lot of this is inflated numbers because of the teams that he's played for as well. So I got to look at what is his WHIP? His WHIP, walks and hits per innings pitched. He's got a 1.27 career WHIP. He's got a 1.55 WHIP. So it's a little bit higher right now than 2024 than what his career numbers suggest. But if a scout is watching, what's his stuff look like? That's more important right now than seeing the numbers for someone like Luzardo, or even I'll throw Paul Blackburn for the Oakland A's currently right now. What does this stuff look like? Because if we put him around a team that is actually good and we have good defense and he's got some run support, could he be what we think he can be? That's the question I ask for Luzardo here. So it's a matter of, again, you're playing for a team that's 3-14. You did win 2 of 3 against Atlanta. And that was a good series, but then you fall backwards and you're kind of showing yourself to be the old Marlins again. So I'm looking at it, and I'm saying that there is a market for Luzardo still. There will still be a market for Luzardo as we get going into the season. Because I think the teams are going to watch the stuff, and the stuff is still really good. It's just the fact that he's been on a bad team, and I was trying to find a couple other analytical stats that pitchers that are used for pitchers. I can't find it on MLB on MLB's app, but I'll try to get that here in a second. But there's some numbers. Like I said, the WHIP is something that I'm looking at, and he's got he's a little bit higher than what he's done the last couple of years. 2022, he had a 1.04 WHIP. 2023, 1.21, and then I said a 1.55. So it's a little bit higher this year than it has been the last few years. But I kind of look at it and say a lot of his numbers still right now are inflated just because of who he plays for. And I think there will be a market still for Jesus Luzardo when it's said and done at the trade point.
JD, the Chicago Cubs are off to a 10-6 start despite 2 of the guys that are supposed to be carrying their offense. The last 7 days, Bellinger and Happ have combined to go 5 for 54 with 5 RBIs, 5 walks, 13 strikeouts. That's a combined batting average of under 100. Obviously, it's great when your team is 10-6 and 2 of your power guys and 2 of your production guys are doing absolutely nothing for your team. So you would have to imagine, JG, once these two guys come around, Chicago is going to be cooking. But we also have to look at the history of Cody Bellinger and ask ourselves, is he going to come around? Because he played great last season. He didn't get the money or the contract he was looking for this offseason because, like you've alluded to many times, teams are probably looking at it and saying, we're not going to pay you for one season of production when we've seen what you've done the other seasons. We need to make sure we're protecting ourselves as well. And then you look at Ian Happ, who is a pretty good switch hitter. He's got some power from both sides of the plate. But again, another streaky hitter. JG, do you think we're just going through early season streaks with these guys? Are you opening the panic button saying this could be something bigger? Where are you sitting right now with the Happ Bellinger combo? Because if it continues this way, there's going to come a point where you can't keep winning baseball games when your two most productive players are not being productive.
Yeah, and I have a lot of concern for Cody Bellinger right now. And I said with you guys, I was hoping 2023 would be, that light switch goes off for him and we see what he was in LA early in his career, the MVP season type of Bellinger. I was hoping we see maturity as a ball player and as a hitter, and hope that the previous 3 years of 2022, 2021, and even the shortened season of 2020 was kind of like, hey, the spotlight just got too big in LA. He was, he kind of got himself, really to the point where it was an anxiety-ridden situation for him that he couldn't handle. And he went to Chicago with the Cubs, and there's not a lot of fanfare for him. That he was able to be more relaxed. And I feel like we're kind of reverting back to what we knew Bellinger to be of the previous 3 seasons in 2020, 2021, and 2022. The numbers match up to those seasons right now. He's nowhere near the numbers that and I know, again, early on, I know, and where you mentioned that. But if you look at as far as from 2021 to 2022, the numbers equal to what he had really in 2021. And it was an abysmal numbers that he put up in 2021. And I know he dealt with some injuries a little bit here and there at times, and he was benched a couple of times as well. But as far as the power numbers, he had 10 home runs in 2021. 2022, he had 19 home runs. He's at 2 right now. What I'm looking at is his slugging percentage. Again, he's a power hitter. He's supposed to be hitting the ball all over with good speed too. And his slugging percentage in 2021, 302. Slugging percentage in 2022, 389. You go to last year in 2023, he had a slugging percentage of 525. It was 200 points, almost 200 points higher than the 2 previous seasons. And now we're down in 2024 at a 295 slugging. That's a concern I have for Bellinger. And really his OPS numbers is the same thing. He's not getting on base really right now. He had an on base percentage at in 2021, 240. 2022, 265, 2023, 356, 100 points higher when he got on base. And 2024, we've dropped back down to 292 right now. So there is a huge concern I have for Cody Bellinger right now early on, because I feel like we're seeing the reverting back to the bad Bellinger that we saw in LA at the end of his LA run. And it's going to take a lot of that focus and a lot of the mechanical corrections that he needs to, and really, it's not even the physical corrections. It's the mental approach that you have to have as a hitter. Go back and be simplified style hitting. Just make contact, hit the ball hard somewhere. You don't have to hit the ball 500 feet every time. And at times, that's what he tries to do. He tries to put it over the fence every single time. That's what got him in trouble at LA. And what happened last year was he simplified. And when he simplified, he was able to hit the ball over the fence quite a bit. So hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things in the world to do. Hit a round ball with a round bat. You got to hit it square. And if you overcomplicate it, you get what you're getting with Bellinger right now. And I feel like that's the case at the moment. We're seeing an overcomplication of hitting from Cody Bellinger. Ian Happ, kind of the same thing. 234 average right now, 0 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 660 on base plus slugging. If I'm Chicago, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned because these are your 2 big guys that you have in your lineup, and you're fortunate that you're winning games. But how much longer can you do that? Because your pitching is still not your pitching's not good right now. You have some injuries in your rotation. You have some injuries that you're dealing with in your pitching staff. Your offense has to continue to carry. But if your two big bats are not carrying you, what happens when your offense catches a lull and you don't score as many runs, but your pitching staff continues to give up runs? Now we're in trouble. So I think there is some concern in Chicago with Bellinger, with Happ, and especially Cody Bellinger.
JG, 2 more before we get you out of here. In his last 7 starts as a Padre, Blake Snell gave up 5 earned runs. In his first 7 innings as a Giant, he has given up 10 earned runs. It is not off to a great start for Blake Snell. But also, let's keep in mind, JG, he had no spring training. Are we just going through the lack of spring training, the lack of preparation, and in 2 or 3 starts, he's going to start to round back into Cy Young form? Or is it more than that?
No, I do think that there is a rust factor we're seeing right now. Again, there's a reason why spring training is a month long. There's a reason why you have to assure that you get your amount of work in with the team in games. Throwing bullpens on the side is not the same as throwing in-game action against live hitters and live batters. You're getting yourself ramped up. He didn't have that opportunity to do so with how the market treated him through his free agency. And we're kind of seeing a rust factor right now. I think it's going to take a few more starts before we finally do see Snell be who we've known him to be. That's why it's a little bit pausing to think that they threw him in the big leagues, but they didn't let him go to AAA and kind of get some work in right there, or send him to, or do what a lot of teams have done in the past and send him to their spring training site to face, again, at least the local minor leaguers they have down there, and get a little bit of more controlled type of games, and then you work your way to AAA, and then from there you able to send them back to San Francisco and pitch against big leaguers from there. So they kind of threw him in a little bit quicker. I think that I don't really understand why they did, but we're seeing that side of Blake Snell that is trying to rush through his mechanics to get back and caught up with everybody else. So I'd say by mid-May, maybe mid-May, we'll see the real Blake Snell and how we've known him to be pitching from his time in Tampa Bay and even his time in San Diego. I think we'll get to that point, but it's going to take a couple more starts at least before we get to that point with Blake.
And last one, JG, before you get out of here, Bryce Harper, 3 for 27, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts. He's batting 111, 345 OPS. I don't think that's taking into consideration if he played last night. Obviously, a slow start for Bryce. Again, Aaron Judge is off to a slow start. You see different hitters. Vlad's off to a bit of a slow start in Toronto. Are you concerned when you have the big boppers who come out the gate a little slow? Most of them, it washes out and they're fine. But where do you see Bryce right now?
For Bryce, I'm not concerned for Bryce, because I know Bryce. Again, guys like him. And I know we're talking about Bellinger. My concern for Bellinger, Bryce is different. Bryce has been consistent throughout his career as far as one of the most feared hitters in the game. We've seen this side of Bryce where he's had slow starts. It's a matter of time for him to get comfortable and be able to get hot. And once he's hot, he's absolutely dangerous. So no, I'm not concerned. I'll say this: as a Braves fan, I'm happy. Sorry, Gene. But as a baseball fan, or as a coach and as a scout in the situation I watch, I'm not concerned of Bryce Harper for his slow start. Looking at some of his numbers right now, just the beginning part of it, he's again 197 average, not great. 290 on base percentage, not great. 393 slugging, so he is still hitting it. It's just not. He's not been consistent to where you expect him to be at. But 393 slugging, 683 OPS. Again, that's just more of a factor of the on-base percentage is not there right now. But 393, he's almost slugging 400. That tells me he's seeing it. He's just not getting the balls to drop. He's not getting on base as well. So no, there's no concern yet for Bryce Harper, because I know the moment he catches fire, he is one of, if not the most dangerous hitter in Major League Baseball.
JG, we appreciate it. We'll see you later in the week, all right?
As always, guys, appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Mo, last night was the WNBA draft. I think it's fair to say that most times this isn't even a blip on people's radar. Last night, it was more than a blip. And a lot of that has to do with Caitlin Clark. A lot of that has to do with Angel. A lot of that has to do with the quality talent that is coming out of the women's college basketball game, the quality talent that was showcased during the March Madness tournament for the women's side of things a couple of weeks ago. Caitlin Clark goes number 1 overall. We knew this was going to happen. She goes to the Indiana Fever and hooks up with their number 1 pick from last season. So now you're looking at 2 big number 1 picks now playing for the Indiana Fever. Very exciting for that organization. You have the standout in Camila Cardoza from South Carolina going number 3 overall to the Chicago Sky. Oh, by the way, Chicago had 2 picks in the top 10. Who else did they grab up? Oh, they went and grabbed up Angel Reese as well. So Chicago is picking up Angel Reese and Camila Cardoza, 2 huge names coming out of women's college basketball. Both just landed in Chicago. Mo, I say all that to say this. Is there a matchup? Think about what the Las Vegas Aces have been doing the past couple of seasons in the WNBA. Look at Caitlin Clark coming into the league. I think Caitlin Clark is going to have to be one half of this equation. I don't know if the Las Vegas Aces are going to be the other half. Maybe the other half of the equation is the Chicago Sky with Cardoza and Reese out there. Is there any combination of the WNBA finals that could compete viewership-wise with the NBA finals?
That's a really good question. I look, in the immediate sense, not right this moment, but that all depends on, Chris, how fast Caitlin Clark develops at the next level, because it is going to be a shift for her, and there's no secret throughout her college career she's been getting, let's call it, backlash from some of the older players, some of the current players. So I think obviously her coming in the league now, they're going to go at her hard, right? She's going to be somewhat of a target. I want to see how good you are. But I think she has the mental capacity. I think she has the mental toughness to move through that. She's going to have to navigate those landmines. But if she does develop into the player that we think she'll be, not to mention what the Fever have already put together, that's the matchup, right? If they become really good, would you watch a Caitlin Clark-led team versus the Aces? I would. I'd watch and see what they did against the Sky, because if the Sky moves along with Angel Reese and Cardova, like I said, what they're doing in the WNBA, Chris, is something they hadn't done since I've been watching it. They really didn't make it about stars the way the NBA has, and I think that Caitlin Clark has given them a blueprint to build off of. Would I watch her in the finals? If she got absolutely, I would watch her in the finals, because I feel like she would put on some kind of a show. So could their ratings get to the point where they exceed the NBA? Right now, no. But is it possible? Yes, because what have we been talking about when we talked about the NBA? Viewership is down. The ratings are down. The game has become stagnant in a way where we recognize there are a lot of talented and gifted players out there, but I'm talking about the game, the way the game is played. I don't think it had this perfect moment, right, where Golden State kind of took over, and you were talking about beautiful basketball and ball movement and things of those natures. But I think within that window, some of the years in between and where we are now, it's the flopping, it's the constant foul calls, it's the delay. How many times there was a Laker game where they went to the review they lost like 5 or 10 minutes of game time from reviews. I think that, and now you've got Adam Silver saying like, well, maybe we should allow a little bit more physicality and make it more, because the game is the regular season itself resembles the All-Star game, and that's not a pretty thing. That's not good. So I do think there's a window and an opportunity for the WNBA because the NBA itself is struggling to try to keep their core audience.
And it's interesting, Mo, because attendance is up. Attendance is up across the NBA, but like you just said, you're not seeing the same trajectory when it comes to the TV ratings, which means is the NBA turning more into a spectator live attendance sport than it is a must-see TV kind of deal. I will say this, though. The one thing that's really going to hurt the WNBA, and there's nothing they can do about this, their playoffs happen in October.
And that's brutal.
That is not the time.
Because you and I know, you more than me, the boys of summer own October.
You are going against Major League Baseball. You are going against the start of the NFL season.
Correct.
You can't play Monday night. You can't play Thursday night. You can't play Sunday night. Like if you are the WNBA, I don't care who is in your finals. You're not winning a Monday night. You're not winning a Thursday night. You're not winning a Sunday night. And that's not me. That's me not even knowing where the World Series games are because they're sprinkled in there as well too. So it's timing wise, it's tough for them to pull a number just because of when their championship falls. But I agree with you, Mo. I don't know if they can beat the NBA viewership-wise for a finals, but I think they can improve and gain ground on them. And who knows? If the NBA ever ended with a dud matchup in the finals, or a matchup that maybe if you're a pure basketball fan, you don't think is a dud, but to the national audience, maybe LeBron's not there, Steph's not there, KD's not there. Maybe you don't have the big name recognition and it's a couple of younger teams with up-and-coming faces. Maybe it's a perfect storm. But I think that October finals in the WNBA, Mo, that's a lot to overcome for that month.
It really is. I mean, like you said, MLB, the postseason, start of the NFL, and the NFL is king. Like you look, you and JG are baseball guys. You're going to be all about postseason baseball, but because of the start of the NFL season, you're going to be talking about a lot of NFL, the moves that were made, who's looking good preseason. We could keep going on and on. They have to navigate who's in charge of marketing in the WNBA. They have to navigate those landmines to be able to garnish ratings. And you can't compete with postseason baseball. You can't. And it's interesting that you said, is the NBA becoming more of a attendance league, because that's what baseball became, right? It became that, although I think the ratings clearly always go up in the postseason, but if the NBA regresses to where it becomes more about that will be so huge. It will be a major shift in the league. So I think that is really why Adam Silver and the people in the NBA offices are so concerned. And I'm rooting for the WNBA. I know you are as well. But I don't know how they garner those ratings when their finals end up when they end up. Like that is the perfect storm to not get ratings.
Mo, let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk a little Olympic basketball. Team USA men's basketball team. 11 of the 12 spots are now solidified. Those 11 spots belong to Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Booker, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, and Bam Adebayo. Those are 11 of the 12. That leaves one spot, Mo. One spot is left open on Team USA. A recent report from, who was the report from? It's from ESPN, says that spot has been earmarked for Kawhi Leonard based on health. If not Kawhi, other people who are potentially earmarked for that spot are Paul George, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and Paolo Banchero. Did I say that right?
Banchero.
Banchero. I was close.
You were right there.
If not Kawhi, well, first of all, would you give it to Kawhi? And if not Kawhi, where would you go for that 12th spot?
this is weird because I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan, but I wouldn't give it to Kawhi Leonard. I would look at somebody like a Paolo Banchero or Jalen Brunson. I would. Look, even now, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but he's got swelling in his knee right now. Right now.
They don't know if he's going to start playoff game 1 right now.
Right, correct. So now you're talking about a guy who needs to manage his health in the offseason more than anybody. But if you commit to the Olympic team, you don't really have an offseason. I think Kawhi, if anything, he should say, thank you for the opportunity and the honor, but you should give it to someone else, right? Like that would be the smart thing to do because his club can't really rely on him because of health issues.
And again, it's funny, but at the same time, it's not funny because that's always kind of the running comment with the Clippers. Yes, they could be a championship team if they're all healthy, not just come playoff time, Mo, but for the extent of the playoff run, because we've seen them be healthy come playoff time, and we've seen them not make it through the playoffs healthy. We saw, whether it was last season or the season before, they were healthy going into the playoffs. And then by round 2, they were banged up and they weren't the same team. So here we are again. The playoffs are starting. He has some swelling in his knees. He's questionable for game 1. What does that look like? Does he rest and try to get right and come back game 2 or game 3? It's the first round matchup, but at the same time, they don't have the luxury of being a one seed. It's not like they're getting a walk in the park the first round of the playoffs. It's going to be a competitive series. You might need him there for the first couple of games. So maybe it's not best to rest him. But if you're not resting him, Mo, what are you doing for round 2? Are you making him less available for round 2 of the playoffs when you're definitely going to need him for the entire series? Like, what do you do if you're the Clippers? It seems like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
And I think we talked about this somewhat last season. Kawhi Leonard's issues with his legs and knees, they're chronic issues. It's not one of those things where he's agreed to have a surgery and he's going to be 100%. Nope. There are chronic issues that will haunt him and be part of his career wherever he plays for however long he plays. And that would be my concern as a Clipper fan, if I were a Clipper fan, because they just gave him an extension. He just signed a big extension because they're moving into that new arena. So obviously you want star power going forward. But I look at Kawhi Leonard in a different way. I look at him as, yes, healthy, talented, one of the best players in the league. But if you're going to max out what you can get out of him, the truth of the matter is you need to surround him with somebody who's as good or better than he is when he's healthy, because he needs to do less. At this stage of his career, Kawhi Leonard should be a second, maybe even a third option for you to get the most out of him, because I don't think he can carry the load anymore. Every time he carries the load, he has a great regular season, and then we're all sitting there like, wow, Kawhi's played over 60 games. This looks great. And then what happens? Here we are, the playoffs are getting ready to start. He's more than likely not going to play. And by the way, Chris, they're the 4 seed, I believe. They're playing the Mavs. Yeah. I got the Mavs winning that series. If Kawhi were 100% healthy, honestly, I'd still pick the Mavs to win that series. Luka's going to dominate that series. And if Kyrie does what he's been doing over the last 30 games, it isn't even going to be a good series. It's a 5-game series. Without Kawhi, it could be a 4-game series. That's how big an advantage Dallas will have in that series.
Mo, the season is over. We're about to hit the playoffs. How many times have we talked negatively about Kyrie this season?
None. Zero. None.
He's just playing basketball.
Yeah.
How many times have we said that? Just play basketball and do what you do, and it will all work out, Mo. And here he is, just playing basketball.
And playing at a really high level. I think finally he and Luka have a chemistry. They know how to play off each other now. Kyrie has accepted the fact that it's not 1 and 1A. It's I'm the number 2 to Luka. I get that. I understand that. And I think he didn't know that before, or at least he didn't want to believe that. Not to mention with the additions they've made by getting Gafford and Washington, the Mavs right now, like I said, they're a scary team. And they were going to be a bad matchup for a healthy Clippers team. But with this current team, if look, if you're the Clippers, let's be realistic, Chris. If he has knee swelling, you shouldn't play the man. Period.
No, not at all.
Well, because if you play the man, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up for where he's probably going to miss a lot of the start of next. Don't do that. You shouldn't play. I'd love to see him play, but he can't play. And you and I both know what that means. It means at some point during this morning, as we're speaking, or in the afternoon, you're going to hear Stephen A. Smith going on a rant about how Kawhi Leonard is a horrible star because for some reason he's getting hurt on purpose. So you can't rely on it. I mean, the guy's not getting hurt on purpose. And it's not a secret when he signed with the Clippers a few years back, they knew about his health issues. They knew he had chronic problems. And Steve Ballmer said, but I want Kawhi still. So all I can say to people out there that are down on him is he's literally not trying to get hurt on purpose.
Mo, you hit the nail on the head. He needs to be a 3, or he needs to be a 2 with a really good 3 behind him, not because of his talent and his skill, but just because of the wear and tear on his body. But the issue with that is, how do you pay a 3 what you're paying Kawhi?
There it is. There it is. Steve Ballmer just gave him a massive extension because he wants him to be the face going into the new arena. You and I are saying he should be, and he really should be, but you just paid him the kind of money that you pay a top 10 player or a franchise player. I get it. It's a tough conundrum for the Clippers. And I'm not saying he can't be a big part of what you do going forward, but if you want him to be the lead guy, you're going to have him in and out your lineup for the bulk of that contract. I'm just saying they have to live in reality. He can't be your number 1 option anymore. And really, like I said, if he's going to be a 2, you make a great point. Then the 3 must be a hell of a 3. Like the 3 must be a guy who's damn near a 2. Like you need that much talent around him. His workload, Chris, should be to the fact where he's averaging around 20 points a game, 5 and 5, and playing about 32 minutes a game. That's more realistic if you want to extend his career. I'm sure Steve Ballmer didn't become the wealthy guy that he did by not taking risk. So I'm sure his idea is like, I just paid this guy a ton of money. I expect him to play about 37, 38 minutes a game and play about 65, 70 games. Steve Ballmer, that's not a good idea, but you are the owner.
Mo, Mike Tannenbaum is a former GM in the NFL. He is a former front office advisor in the NFL. He has had his fingerprints on multiple NFL drafts. He has had his fingerprints on multiple blueprints for multiple different teams in the league. He is currently an analyst, and every year, like many people do, he releases a full first-round mock draft of what he thinks is going to happen in the draft. Now, unlike other analysts, we tend to pay a little more attention to the mock drafts of former GMs because, Mo, they used to do this for a living. This was their job. Their job was to look at talent. Their job was to decide what is best for teams based on needs. Oh, and by the way, they're a big part of the decision-making process of who the team actually takes. So we tend to look a little more at GMs in these situations. But then I look at Mike Tannenbaum's mock draft, Mo. We're just going to go through it before I start tearing the guy apart because he should know way more than I know. But let's go. We got Caleb Williams, number 1. I think we're fine there. Number 2 with the Washington Commanders. They've been linked to Jaden Daniels. They've been linked to J.J. McCarthy. He has them taking Drake May. Don't know where that came from. There's been some Drake May Washington connection, but they are heavily connected to the other 2 quarterbacks in the draft. Now, you could argue, if you're Mike Tannenbaum, that Drake May is the second best quarterback in the draft. I'll listen to that argument. I have no issue hearing out that argument, Mo. Maybe you've heard otherwise, but Washington taking Drake May 2?
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. That I know you and I aren't paid to do this for a living in terms of being a scout, but there are so many cautionary tales when you draft a player and go, well, look what he did, but then I always say, well, look at the competition. Who'd you play against? Like, and what did you do in big games? Not just um, stat pad or things of that nature. I'm not saying Drake May doesn't have talent. I'm not even saying that he won't be a very good quarterback, but because Jaden Daniels plays in the conference that he plays in, he's playing at some of the highest level competition, right? I can judge him off of what he's done. I can judge him off of that resume. And I'm not a scout, but I look at him and the eye test tells me he's the more dynamic player. I think to me, out of the two, he's the one that I think can be a transcendent player even. I don't know that much about Drake May. I've watched some of his highlight reels. I I don't know what he'll be. He could be a star. He could be a journeyman. Like I said, that's why these guys get paid to do it.
He has Jaden Daniels going 3 to the Patriots and JJ McCarthy going 4 to the Cardinals, which means in this world that Tannenbaum lives in, Daniels and McCarthy are still top 5 quarterbacks, which means the two quarterbacks that Washington has been most tightly connected to, they're going to go right after they take a quarterback that they haven't been connected to.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't understand where that. I don't think JJ McCarthy should go 4. I think that's too high for him. But Washington's been connected to him. So I don't see the world where Washington goes Drake May, but yet the two teams after them take the other two quarterbacks that Washington has basically been almost saying, we're taking one of these two guys. I don't see where that happens. Oh, you might be wondering, why would Arizona take JJ McCarthy? Let me tell you why. It's because he has the Cardinals trading Kyler Murray to the Minnesota Vikings. In his world, Kyler is going to become a Minnesota Viking, and a trade is going to take place at the number 11 position in the draft. And with the number 11 pick, the new number 11 pick, the Cardinals are going to go cornerback. Okay. Really? They're going to go cornerback. Oh, by the way, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me jump back up into the top 5 here, Mo, because at number 5, the Chargers are taking a tackle. That's fine. They have no offensive line. They should take the best tackle in this draft. Somebody needs to protect Justin Herbert. Then we got the Giants at number 6 taking Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU, which means they chose not to take Marvin Harrison Jr. At number 7, the Tennessee Titans are taking a tackle with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the board. They need a tackle. I'm not saying they don't, but okay. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons are going to take an edge rusher in Dallas Turner with Marvin Harrison Jr. still on the board. Kirk Cousins just came in. I think that would be pretty tempting to pass up there. Oh, but at number 9, the Chicago Bears are going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not buying it, Mo.
No way.
If Marvin Harrison Jr. gets past the Chargers, which, by the way, I think the Chargers would take him.
Absolutely.
I think the Chargers are taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
Chris, Jim Harbaugh didn't put in all this work to hype up J.J. McCarthy not to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Like he put in all the work. He did a better job than McCarthy's agent. Jim Harbaugh knows what he's doing. He absolutely will. If he has the opportunity, Marvin Harrison will be a member of the Chargers. Guarantee that if he has the opportunity. I don't know what the hell Tannenbaum is thinking. Maybe he just likes to go for hot takes, but these are nonsensical ideas. I may be wrong. I don't know his exact age. What is Kyler Murray? 26, maybe?
He's right. He's right there in his mid-20s.
He's 26. And and you know what he can do if you put weapons with him, but you're going to trade him for J.J. McCarthy? That GM should be fired on the spot for listening to that. Fired on the spot.
That's it. That's all I got. But we're going to close out there. That's how we're ending the show this morning.
What is that?
Take us to the end, sir.
Hey guys, we appreciate you so much for joining Chris and myself this morning on the morning show. Wire to Wire Network is growing. We are growing because of you. Make sure you stop by, like, sub, follow all the great content that we put out there for you. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Will's going to be here to talk NBA playoffs. The NFL genius himself, a.k.a. the world traveler. He has been all over as of late. I think we have him locked down. It's not guaranteed, but I think we have him stateside and we have him locked down for 30 minutes so he can come and join us. All of that and more. Coffee and sports. It's the morning show.